Flutter has taken the developer community by storm. It's been getting more and more attention over the past few years, and now it is one of the most popular UI toolkits out there. And this is for a good reason. Flutter was created by Google in May 2017 and officially open-sourced 2 years later. Flutter is a UI toolkit that allows you to build beautiful, natively compiled applications for mobile, web, desktop, and even embedded devices from a single code base. Now, this is the key point: from a single code base. This means that you can write your application once and run it everywhere without having to rewrite any code or do any porting to make it work on a different platform. So what exactly is Flutter made of? Well, first of all, it is written in the Dart programming language, which is also developed by Google, and that makes it very easy to learn if you already know Java or JavaScript. When it comes to the actual rendering, Flutter uses its own engine called Skia, which is a 2D graphics library that is highly optimized and provides very smooth animations. Then we have the widgets. Widgets are basically the building blocks of any Flutter app, and they allow you to construct your user interface very easily. What's cool about them is that they are fully customizable, so you can change their appearance or behavior however you like. And since we are talking about customizing things, let's talk about theming. With Flutter, you can apply themes to your app very easily, which will change the look of your app based on the user's preferences or the current context. And finally, we have the state management, which is very important in Flutter because it determines how the app responds to user interactions. There are many different ways to manage the state in Flutter, but the most popular one is the provider package. Now that we know what Flutter is made of, let's take a look at some of its most popular features. The first one is, of course, the ability to build beautiful and highly customized user interfaces. As we mentioned earlier, Flutter's widgets are highly customizable, which means that you can create unique-looking apps that really stand out. Another great feature of Flutter is the fast development cycle. With Flutter, you can build your app very quickly because the UI is rendered in a single thread, which means that you don't have to worry about the performance impact of your code. Also, Flutter has a hot reload feature that allows you to see the changes in your code immediately without having to restart the app. The next feature is the native performance. Although Flutter is a cross-platform framework, the apps that are built with it are not cross-platform apps. They are native apps that are compiled to machine code. This means that they perform just like any other native app would. In fact, Flutter apps are known for their smooth animations and high frame rates, which makes them feel very responsive and fast. Next, we have the large community and ecosystem. Flutter has a huge community of developers who are constantly creating new packages and plugins that can be used to extend the functionality of Flutter. This means that you'll never be stuck trying to find a solution to a problem that someone else hasn't encountered before. And speaking of packages, let's take a moment to talk about them in more detail. The official package manager for Flutter is called pub.dev. And it contains thousands of packages that can be used to add new features to your app very quickly. For example, if you want to add a navigation bar to your app, you can simply import the bottom navy bar package and start using it right away. No need to write any code from scratch. Finally, we have the support for multiple platforms. As we mentioned earlier, Flutter allows you to build apps for multiple platforms from a single code base. This means that you can reach a larger audience with your app, and you don't have to maintain separate code bases for each platform. You can build your app once and deploy it everywhere. Now that we know some of the features of Flutter, let's take a look at some of the most popular apps that are built with it. The first one is the Google I/O 2021 app, which was completely built with Flutter. This is a good example of a highly customized app that really takes advantage of all the features that Flutter has to offer. Another popular app that uses Flutter is the eBay Motors app. This is an example of an app that uses Flutter for its mobile UI while still using native components for certain parts of the app. This shows that Flutter can be used in conjunction with other technologies, and it doesn't have to be used as a full-stack solution. The Alibaba app is another good example of an app that uses Flutter for its mobile UI. This is a huge app with millions of users, and it shows that Flutter can handle large and complex projects very well. The My Camera app is a good example of an app that uses Flutter for its entire UI. This is a simple camera app that lets you take pictures and record videos, but it shows how Flutter can be used to build simple apps very quickly. And finally, we have the music streaming app. This is an app that allows you to stream music from the cloud. It uses Flutter for its entire UI, and it shows how Flutter can be used to build apps with complex animations and smooth scrolling. Now that we know some of the apps that use Flutter, let's take a look at some of the companies that are using it. As we mentioned earlier, Flutter is a very popular framework, and there are many companies that are using it to build their apps. One of them is Google, of course, where Flutter was developed. They use it for many of their own apps, including the Google I/O app. Another company that uses Flutter is eBay. They use it for their mobile front end, which is the part of the app that users actually interact with. They chose Flutter because it allows them to build a high-quality and consistent user experience across all platforms. Another big company that uses Flutter is Alibaba. They use it for their mobile front end as well. And they chose Flutter because it allows them to build apps very quickly and easily. They also use it for its native performance and its ability to handle large and complex projects. And finally, we have Tencent, which is a Chinese multinational technology conglomerate that uses Flutter for many of its apps. They chose Flutter because it allows them to build apps with complex animations and smooth scrolling. Now that we know some of the companies that are using Flutter, let's take a look at why you should use it for your next project. First of all, if you want to build a beautiful and highly customized app, Flutter is a great choice. Its widgets are highly customizable, which means that you can create an app that really stands out. Secondly, if you want to build your app very quickly, Flutter is also a great choice. Its hot reload feature and fast development cycle will allow you to build your app in no time. And if you want a framework that is supported by a large company like Google, Flutter is definitely the way to go. Google is investing a lot of money and resources into Flutter, and it is likely going to be around for many years to come. So if you're looking for a long-term investment, Flutter is a great choice. Now let's take a look at some of the drawbacks of Flutter. The first one is that it is relatively new. It was only open-sourced in 2019, which means that it doesn't have the same level of maturity as other frameworks like React Native. However, this is not necessarily a bad thing because it means that the framework is constantly evolving and improving. The next drawback is that it has a steep learning curve. If you've never programmed in the Dart language before, it will take some time to learn. However, this is not necessarily a bad thing either, because it means that the framework is not easy to use, and only serious developers will use it. This helps to ensure that the framework remains high quality and performant. Another drawback of Flutter is that it is not as widely used as other frameworks like React Native. This means that there are fewer job opportunities for Flutter developers and fewer resources available online. However, this is not necessarily a bad thing either, because it means that Flutter developers are in high demand and the community is very active and growing quickly. Overall, I think that Flutter is a great framework that is worth learning. It is a high-quality framework that is well maintained, and it has a bright future ahead of it. If you're looking for a new framework to learn, I highly recommend checking out Flutter. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.